Hi, Marianne Croce here from Small Biz Vantage and the creator of 3 Day Weekend System and Coaching. And I'm glad to be here each and every week to do business leadership in 15 minutes. I do these for two reasons. One is for you to be able to shift your perspective or your vantage, if you will, of your business and turn it into your competitive edge. And the second reason is for you to be able to take one action item away each and every week and implement it. If you find this valuable, please share it with another business owner. We can all learn, grow, and help and support one another. So, this week's topic is a productivity tip called the Pomodoro technique. This is something that I've been using in my business for years. It was shared with me, and I want to share it with you. When when I talk with owners, one of the topics that comes up most often for business owners is productivity. They're trying to get more done in a day. And one of the first things I ask them is, well, how do you get things done in your personal life? Like, what's your secret sauce for that? And most of them will really kind of get excited and tell me that when they're looking forward to a project, they actually become more productive. It's something that excites them. One owner said, when I think about the outcome, it makes me stay more focused and I seem to have lots of energy. And another owner told me that when they're doing something they really enjoy, time just seems to fly by. It's almost like they lose track of time. So these examples of having that energy and losing track of time are examples of being in flow state. That's when you are operating at your peak. It's a balance between the difficulty of a task and your skill set. So if a task is too easy, you may become bored. If it's too difficult, you may become frustrated. So you can adjust the level of challenge to match your abilities, seeking that sweet spot that stretches your skills but doesn't overwhelm you. So you can think about this in a lot of different ways, like even at home with your children, your grandchildren as well, because this works personally and professionally to get things done. It also helps with procrastination when tackling big jobs or projects that can seem daunting. I can think of a few right off the top of my head. When you break them down into smaller projects, as you complete each part of them, you really feel like this sense of accomplishment. Now, think about this in a work environment. As an owner, you are responsible and accountable for many areas of the business that may not be in your skill set. And team members are facing this as well because they're always trying to learn, they're always trying to grow. So the jobs need to get done. So, how do we get the balance of being in the zone so that we're productive? How does that really happen? And one way to do this is by using the Pomodoro technique. It's a great way to stay focused and avoid distraction. And this was created by a student in the late 1980s. So the idea here, I want to unpack this for you, break it down. The idea is you turn off your phone, email notifications, or any other distractions. And if you're in an environment where you're in an office, you may have to even shut your door. You set a timer for 25 minutes and work without interruption until that timer goes off. So in your mind, you know you have 25 minutes and you want to get as much done as you can. Then after the 25 minutes, when the timer goes off, you take a short break of a few minutes. Now, this is the hard part because a lot of times people will say, "Oh, like I'm going so well right now. I don't want to stop." But I'm encouraging you, focus on that timer and stop. Stretch. Just go get some water. Walk around. Don't get distracted. Don't start striking up conversations with people and get distracted. Just stretch, get water, move around a little bit, and then go back and set the timer for another 25 minutes and stay focused on work until the timer goes off again. After 3 or 4 rounds, take a longer break. Now, during this longer break, you are now open to distractions. So, 3 or 4 rounds of this with those small little breaks in between, you're talking about 90 minutes to 2 hours. That's not an unreasonable amount of time, but we tend to get distracted. We tend to get interrupted, and we feel like we're being pulled in all these different directions. So, it's so important to really stay focused and give yourself permission to use this technique. So think about using this technique with your team and how it can really help them develop their skills, right? Get jobs done, but also develop, their skills. So the idea here is a couple of owners have come up with different things that they said that would work well. And I'm going to go run down like a list of these things. One of them was making customer calls or having difficult conversations. So if you were setting a timer and saying, I'm going to allow this time to make customer calls without interruptions and have maybe difficult conversations, even if it was a difficult conversation with a team member or customer, whoever, parts supplier, vendor, give yourself time to do that without interruption. Reviewing sales calls and rating the call, what worked and what didn't work. Have the person who's making those sales calls actually go in and review their calls and decide what worked and what didn't, how they can do better. But you need that chunk of time to do that. Set up a format for a weekly or daily meeting. So how do you do that? We're talking about a basic agenda here. And you'll have 2 or 3 versions of it. But the idea is give yourself the time. Improving a process for something that isn't working or something that's even frustrating your team. There may be something that really is frustrating them and they have an idea to improve that process. Take the time, allow the time to do that. And the last one here, example that I have is ways to be more organized to get bigger jobs done. So this could be workflow, maybe the way things are set up. It could be setting up your workspace differently. And the idea is for you to be able to be more productive with all of these. So I want to go over the rules for the 25-minute sprints, like these Pomodoro breaks, right? Chunks of time. Let's call them sprints. You're breaking down larger projects. So if a task requires more than 4 Pomodoros, those sprints, it needs to be divided into smaller actionable steps. So you need to break it down into something smaller. So the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of this is, say, moving. Moving can seem like a huge daunting task. It's going to take all day to do it. But maybe breaking it down could be boxing things up, could be one section of that. Another thing could be clearing out one room. So that's how you break them down when it's a really big project. Smaller tasks go together. So any tasks that will take less than 1 Pomodoro sprint should be combined with other simple tasks. So an example would be paying bills. You say, okay, I'm going to pay, you say, I think of 3 or 4 bills that you're going to go and pay, and it doesn't take you 25 minutes to do it. No, the idea is just pay all the bills that are due that month. Pay all the bills, even if you have to schedule them, but get it done. So once a Pomodoro is set, the timer must ring. The Pomodoro is a unit of time and it cannot be broken, especially not to check in, right? Because you're sitting there thinking, okay, I completed my task in less than 25 minutes. I still have 10 minutes left on the clock here, the timer. So I can go and I can do something else. Let me just check a few of my emails, or text messages or phone calls. No. The idea is if you're working on bills, for example, and you're done in less than 25 minutes, great. Is there anything that you can do that would help you with the bills in the future? Is there anything that you've ever forgotten? Do you need to create a list of everything that gets paid? Do you want to set certain bills up on auto pay or schedule them out? There's always something that you can do to improve that task or that job. So the idea is even when you have extra time, sometimes ideas will pop into your head and it's very easy for you to go off on a tangent and you can get lost in that idea. So if you do have an idea or think of another task that you should do, anything like that, or maybe someone comes in and needs your help, very quickly jot it down on a little notepad, jot it down, on your computer, whatever works for you, but jot it down, make a list so that you don't forget and that you can come back to it. I call that list for me, I call that list my parking lot list. That way I put everything in the parking lot. I know where that list is and I can refer back to it when I want to tackle something. So some tasks will take only one sprint of the 25 minutes. Others will take more than one. Personally, I find the idea of really staying focused for 25 minutes, I find it really exciting to see how much I can actually get done in that amount of time. So for me, this is an example of actually working smarter, not harder, because you're actually getting more done in less time. So lastly, I want to go over the effectiveness of this technique. The Pomodoro technique really makes it easier to get started by helping with procrastination. It's breaking down bigger projects into smaller ones that work. You're combating distractions that we think take only a few minutes, but in reality, they can cause us to lose valuable time. Have you ever went into email and then before you know it, right, you've lost track of time? So that's a really good example. Another thing for the effectiveness is you become more aware of where your time is going and where you're spending your time. You really start to see that. And lastly, you're gamifying your productivity. Each Pomodoro provides an opportunity to improve upon the last. So each session is a fresh start to reevaluate your goals, challenge yourself to focus, and limit your distractions. So you can make the system work for you. It's definitely customizable and you can use it personally or professionally. So that's it for this week's Business Leadership in 15 Minutes. And I look forward to next week's. Have an enjoyable week.